Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about the work that you get graded on, which is the homework and the exams here. And again, those are all on Alex. So some of the terminology is that the modules is essentially the assignments that are homework. These are homework assignments. So you'll see that word when you're working into the Alex there. Okay, so these are the homework assignments that you're doing. Again, pay attention to the due dates. Each of the modules has about a dozen to 15 topics. So those are different types of homework problems. Now, I'll point out that in order to get full credit for the homework, you have to do it 3 times. In fact, it won't let you move on to the next topic unless you get it right 3 times. So you got to make sure you understand the problem. Don't just try to get the answer, because what can happen is you get the answer, and then you don't get the answer because you didn't understand what was going on. So try as hard as you can to understand it so that you can get it 3 times. Then that lets you move on to the next one. You don't get penalized in terms of points if you get it wrong. You can get it wrong as many times as you want, but you can't move on to the next one until you get it right. So that's the penalty in a sense. So each one of these topics has an explanation. So if you're having a problem, you can't get it right, an alternative to the ebook, which you can open, you can access that from Alex. An alternative is to click on the bottom where it says explanation, and that will open up an explanation of how they're doing it. Their explanations may be slightly different from mine. It may seem different from mine. But for the most part, their explanations are okay. They're sometimes a little bit complicated, a little bit mathematical in nature, less chemical, more mathematical, but they're technically correct. So you can use those explanations. Okay. You may find that there are what we call knowledge checks. In fact, at the beginning, you'll have to do what's called an initial knowledge check just to see what your knowledge is already. If there are certain topics that you already know how to do, when you do the initial knowledge check, it may test you on those. And if you can show that you know how to do them, it gives you credit for completing them at the beginning of the course before you even have to get into the work. So that way, that will save you time down the road. You've already got it done. So you don't have to, but that's relatively rare in this course because the topics that are in general chemistry 2 are usually pretty advanced topics compared to general chemistry 1. So you may not have seen really any of these types of problems in a previous course. Okay. So once you do the initial knowledge check, take it seriously, go through the problems. Don't cheat on the initial knowledge check. Don't go to ChatGPT or Google and do it, because it'll make your life harder if you do it that way on the initial knowledge check. Okay. So just take about a half hour to 45 minutes and do the knowledge check. Have a calculator nearby. And then there may be future knowledge checks. I've tried to take them to minimize the number that are in there, but the software actually requires that one future knowledge check be added in there. So when you do those knowledge checks, take those seriously as well. You will also see some terminology about the pi progress. The pi progress is just a measure of all the problems that you've done. It just kind of shows you how you're filling out the course, how many topics you have. Okay. Let me point out that if you get all your assignments in on time and you finish all the homework, you just get 100 in the homework. That's all there is to it. And that's the majority of your grade. Okay. The exam information. Again, the exams are on Alex. Those will appear as what they call assignments. And these assignments, these exams have due dates again. So make sure you're up on the due dates. They are roughly 30 to 40-minute exams. They are timed. You have a limited amount of time to do them. They generally will have 5 or 6 questions. It says 5 to 10 here, but they won't be that many. It'll be 5 to 6. Okay. So they will be homework problems, very much like the homework problems, and then you get grades for those. The lowest exam score will be dropped. Okay. There are also what we call practice exams. I put them up as well. They're longer, just to give you a lot of practice. If you want to do a lot of practice, if you can do the practice exams, you'll get 100 on the regular exams, because these are more difficult. They're lengthier. They have longer time limits, like 2 hours, and you can do them more than once. Okay. I will point out the ebook is not available when you're taking the exam. It is available during homework, but not during the exam. And in terms of final exams, there is no separate final exam. In fact, the last exam is exam 6. And I believe that's the 14, 15, 16, 17, it's chapter 19. So you will not have an exam on chapter 20 or 23. Once you finish the exam for 19, that's the last exam that you'll have to take.